Paternal Metaphor I, Part 4 of 4. Let's try to bring in the solution now. This is the solution. It's that the father, I am not saying in the family he is whatever he wants to be. He is a shadow, he is a banker, he is everything that he should be. He is it, or he isn't it. That has its own importance on occasions, but that can also have no importance at all. The whole question is to know what he is in the Oedipus complex. Well, you know the father is not a real object. Even if he must intervene as a real object to give body to the castration, he is not a real object. So, what is he? He is not uniquely an ideal object either, because on the side of this object only accidents can happen. Whereas, all the same, the Oedipus complex is not uniquely a catastrophe, since it is the foundation and the basis of our relationship to culture, as it is said. So, naturally, you are going to say to me, the father is the symbolic father. You've already said that. But if I had nothing but that to repeat to you, I have already told you this often enough not to be bringing it up again today. What I am adding today to it, and this is exactly what allows us to bring in a bit more precision on this notion of the symbolic father, is this. The father is a metaphor. What is a metaphor? Let's say it straight away and put it on the board, which will allow us to rectify the problematic consequence of the table. A metaphor is, as I have already explained, a signifier that replaces another signifier. Let me say that the father in the Oedipus complex, even if that must sound appalling to certain people's ears, I say precisely that the father is a substitute signifier for another signifier. And that is the essential domain, the unique domain of the father, insofar as he intervenes in the Oedipus complex. And if you don't look for paternal deficiencies at this level, you won't find them anywhere else. The function of the father in the Oedipus complex is to be a substitute signifier for a signifier, i.e., the first signifier that is inserted into symbolization, the maternal signifier. It is insofar as the father comes, according to the formula that I once explained to you to be that of the metaphor, comes to replace the mother. S replaces S dashed, S dashed being the mother, as already linked to something which is X, i.e. something that was signified in the relationship between the child and the mother. It's this mother who comes and goes because I am already a little being caught up in the symbolic. It's because I have learned to symbolize that it can be said that she comes and goes. In other words, whether I am aware of it or not, anyway, the world is modified by her arrival and can dissipate. The question is, where is the signified? What does she want, that one there? I would really like it to be me that she wants, but it is clear that it is not just me that she wants. There is something else that gets her going. What gets her going is the X. It's the signified. In short, to summarize my seminar from last year, the question is not the object relations. To put that at the heart of it, the object relation, is pure stupidity. It's the child that is the partial object. It's because he is the partial object that he is forced to ask her himself, what does it mean that she goes and she comes? And this signified of the comings and goings of the mother is the phallus. The child, with more or less ingenuity, more or less luck, can manage very early on to make itself phallus once it is understood. But the imaginary way is not the normal way. Moreover, it's because of this that it results in what are called fixations. And then it is not normal because, in the end, as I will tell you, it is never pure, it is not completely accessible. It always leaves something approximate and unfathomable, or even dual, which makes for all the polymorphism of perversion. But by the symbolic way, i.e. by the metaphoric way, I am putting this forward to start with. I will explain how to you in what follows, because we can't go any faster. But I am putting it to you straight away, as we are coming to the end of our session today, the schema that is going to serve us as a guide. It's insofar as the father, as signifier, is a substitute for the mother, that the ordinary result of the metaphor will be produced, the one that is produced in the formula on the board. I am not telling you that I am presenting the solution to you here in a form that is already clear, because I am presenting to you the final term in its result to show you where we are going. We are now going to see how to get there and of what use it is to go there, i.e. everything that this resolves. So we have the choice between two things. Either I leave you there with this brute affirmation in hand, the father's intervention, I put it forward, and it is my contention that everything can be resolved in this way as being this: the substitution of a signifier by another signifier, and you yourselves are going to see the whole question of the impasses in the Oedipal complex clarified, or, well, I will begin to explain the thing to you a little bit. I will introduce the thing for you. I am going to make a comment that, I hope, is all the same going to leave you with the object of your dreams for this week, as next time, in order to speak to you of the metaphor and its effects, it is necessary that I tell you, that I remind you where it is located, i.e. in the unconscious. I would like you to notice this, that there is something very surprising about the fact that the unconscious was not discovered earlier, because, of course, it has always been there, and moreover is always there. All that was needed to know that the locus existed was to know what was going on inside it. But I would simply like to give you something in such a way that you who take yourselves across the world in the form, I hope, of the apostles of my speech, you could introduce it, the question of the unconscious, to people who have never heard of it. You will tell them how strange it is that, since the world has been the world, none of these people who call themselves philosophers have ever dreamt of producing, at least not in the classical period. Nowadays things are a bit more lively, but there is still a long way to go, of producing this essential dimension that is the one that I speak to you about as going by the name of what can be called something else. I have already told you about it, the desire for something else. We should all the same realise that it is often here, the desire for something else. Not perhaps as you feel it right now, the desire to go and eat a sausage rather than to listen to me, but in any event, and whatever it is about, the desire for something else as such. Yet this dimension is not uniquely, simply present in desire. I would simply like to make you aware that it is present in many other states that are absolutely constant, permanent. The evening vigil, for example, what is called the night watch. We don't think enough about that. To watch, you will tell me. What? To watch, that's the thing, as you know, that Freud does in the Judge Schraber account. This is exactly the kind of thing that shows us to what extent Freud lived in this something else. He is speaking to us before sunrise, if you have looked at it. I spoke to you about it once, about the peace of the evening, and of some other little things like that, which have more or less reached you. It was all centred around this suggestion. Before sunrise, is it correctly speaking the sun that is going to appear? There is something else that is latent, the night watch moment that is anticipated. And then the confinement. It is all the same an absolutely essential dimension. As soon as man arrives somewhere in virgin forest or in the desert, he starts by enclosing himself. Out of need, as it is said, he takes out 2 windows to allow a current of air between them, even if there is nothing but that. This confinement is an absolutely essential dimension. It is a question of creating an interior. And this is not simply a notion of interior and exterior, it is a notion of the other, that which is other as such, that which is not the place where one is well insulated. And I will go further. If you were to explore this phenomenology of confinement, as it would be called, in a little more depth, you would observe just how absurd it is to limit the function of fear to what is called a relationship with real danger. The close link between fear and security should be made manifest to you in the clearest way by the phenomenology of the phobia. You would observe with someone who is phobic that these moments of anxiety, it is when he observes that he has lost his fear, at the moment when you start to lift a little his phobia, it's at this moment that he says to himself, "Oh no, that doesn't work. I no longer know at which places I have to come to a stop. In losing my fear, I have lost my security." i.e., everything I told you last year about little Hans. There is a moment when you don't think enough. I am convinced of it, because you live and breathe as if you were in your birthplace. That is called boredom. Perhaps you have never properly reflected on to what extent boredom is typically something that can even be formulated in the clearest way, that one wants something else. We like to eat shit, but not always the same shit. These are the kinds of excuses, pre-formulated excuses, already symbolized from this, which is this essential relationship with something else. I want to end on this. You may think that all of a sudden I am falling into romanticism and longing. You see that desire, confinement, night watch. I was nearly going to say prayer to you while I was at it. Why not? Boredom, where will it go? Where will it slide? But no. The thing that I want to draw your attention to is to these diverse manifestations of the presence of something else, as, reflect on it, they are institutionalized. You can make a classification of all human formations insofar as they establish men and where they go and everywhere, what are called collective formations on the basis of the satisfaction they give to these different modes of the relation to something else. As soon as a man arrives somewhere, he misbehaves, i.e., the place where desire is truly located. As soon as he arrives somewhere, he expects something else, a better world, a future world. He is there, he watches, he waits for the revolution, but most of all when he arrives somewhere, it is excessively important that all his occupations sweat boredom. To put it another way, an occupation does not start to become serious until what constitutes it, i.e., in general the regularity, has become completely boring. And, in particular, think of everything that, in your analytic practice, is very precisely done so that you get bored. It's all there. A large part, more or less, of what is necessary, what are called technical rules to be observed by the analyst, are at heart there to do nothing but give this occupation all the guarantees of what is called its professional standards. I will take up again next time the things needed to show you exactly that it is at the level of the other as such that the dialectic of the signifier is situated, and how it is from there that it approaches the function, the impact, the precise pressure, equally the inductor effect of the name of the Father as such.